This is the last Giddy Farmer podcast.
Hi everyone. What's your name, sir?
Ajeja Dam Farm.
Yeah, I learned from Yusuff that you cultivate a good number of crops in this Ajeja farm. Could you introduce yourself and what you do for the public?
So my name is Ajeja Dam Farm, called merchant farmers. So we cultivate horticulture vegetable at Ajeja Dam, Ijayi. So we cultivate short term, like the vegetables that shoko, and we have exotic vegetables which are short term. We have zucchini and the likes, and we have medium term. We have the cucumber, the Chinese cucumber, and the normal cucumber, and we also have pepper, sweet corn, and tomatoes on the field.
Now, all these things that you've mentioned, now it seems that you do like exotic crops, right? I'm really very surprised because what I see from other people going into vegetable production is doing our local vegetables, shoko and others. But you are saying now Chinese cucumber. Could I have, an insight into why you undertake this sort of production?
Well, definitely we look at the market, and we always want to satisfy the market. We cannot be limited to the local community alone. So we need to expand our market base. So that's the reason why we look at the niche in the market, like the My 12 market in Lagos, and also the vegetable market in Ibadan, which is not the local market, like people who are bringing in Chinese cucumber and the normal cucumber. So that is the reason why we need to satisfy the market. So that's why we, as farmers, need to cover our grounds, and then we're able to see what is sellable.
So I want to ask you, Mr. Yusuff, now you've had him, the sort of crop that he cultivates, and you are operating in Oyo State, right?
Yes.
Like I know, I want to understand, or I want to be well abreast, if this is also the same situation that we are seeing across Oyo State, Ibadan, and some other towns in Oyo State. Are people also undertaking this sort of exotic vegetable production?
Well, it's relative, but I can say that each location has their relative strength. One of the most important things you have to look at, apart from market, is resources. One of the reasons why this hub, has its strength with vegetable is the nearness to the availability of water. There's a big dam over here, the Ajeja Dam. It's quite a big one. So it gives farmers around there to base in a vegetable production, and it's because the dam has been designed in a way in which farmers can have access to it in terms of functionality. However, in other locations, let's say for instance in Igbora, Irua, you don't really have much dams around there. So the strength over there are more of field crops like cassava, maize, maybe soya beans, potatoes, and the likes. So generally, in conclusion, each location has its strength based on the environment. The environment to an extent will dictate what you do. You understand? And your own, then down that comes to you as a farmer that, okay, what is your own point of interest from the market? So even if you have the market for something, let's say for exotic vegetables, if you don't have the resources, to go into it, it might not be really favorable. Then another strength for this area is the proximity, to the market. Between here and between Ajeja here and Ibadan, it's less than 5 kilometers from here. Then to Lagos is another less than maybe like 80 kilometers or so. So it's easier to transport in the next 2 hours, 2-3 hours. Possibly you are in Lagos. So now imagine someone in Irua, Igbora, planting exotic vegetables. The chances of marketing it into Lagos or bringing it down to Ibadan, because Irua people will eat into your bell pepper. You need to bring it down here. So those are some of the things that inform, what people cultivate and how they cultivate and when they cultivate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, for introducing me into Ajeja Farms, and also for letting me know the diverse array of vegetables that are being grown in Oyo State, and also some of the things that are determining the type of crops that they cultivate. So I would like to ask you now, you've been in Ajeja Farms, for some time now. I want you to expatiate on what you said. For people just looking at us, listening to what we are saying, could you just take us through, what Ajeja Farm really is, the whole initiative, because you are the one cultivating here, right?
Yes.
And you understand everything, so that people further understand what is going on here.
Well, we are like a cooperative. We are under Oyo State Agric Development Agency, Oyo State. So, and this project was designed by the former governor, at least for horticultural purpose.
Okay.
So, and as you can see, it's strictly for horticultural purpose. So, over the years, they've been cultivating something like the F4, the Tete, and the Ewedu, but new innovations of seeds coming into the country. So, and new tryouts like technical M seeds, the new tomato seeds, and so many other varieties of seeds have been tried here, and we've been cultivating over time. And most of the farmers here cultivate vegetables, exotic vegetables here that grows in the southwest. Let me put it that way. So whenever you come around, you see strictly exotic vegetables like the cucumber being grown, and you can see some places you see poles are erected for cucumber. We have two types of cucumber. You have the Chinese cucumber and the local cucumber.
Yep.
So which is the Chinese is commonly eaten by the foreigners.
Yep.
So, and the people, the learned people, because somebody in the local market will not buy
Chinese cucumber.
Chinese cucumber, so they would rather go for the normal cucumber.
Okay.
And we know this produce, or let me just say, what we are producing is highly nutrition to the body. So most of those things that we are producing, be it the leafy vegetables, because even we still have the the exotic leafy vegetables like the coriander, the parsley. We grow them. We grow lettuce. We grow a lot. So beetroot. We grow a lot in this community. So, and given with my experience over the years, I think it is really a great opportunity given to farmers because of the water source, and which is the dam. That has a huge water. I think 2,000 square meters of water. So, which, if you open the tap, is running 24/7.
24/7. Yeah. Right. Thank you so much for that. I want to understand that with this sort of scheme, there's always, fresh vegetables are available all year round.
Definitely.
For people to, to access. And I very much believe that, like you said, that the sort of vegetables that are being cultivated here, as they are very nutritious, is important that we sensitize people on them, so that they can consume food that are nutritious for them.
Yes.
Right. So now I want to go into the next phase of the question. Right. When we were speaking initially, you said that you supply to different markets.
Yes.
And I understand that, trying to ensure sustainability.
Yes.
Right. I want to understand what you mean by supplying to closed and open market. Right. I understand that the open market is sort of an informal market, but I want you to expatiate on that.
Thank you very much. The reason why we say closed market and open market, the open market is for everybody. Well, farmers take their produce to the market, which is for everyone. Once you take we have the middlemen, which we cannot bypass in the open market. So we create a niche or a closed market for ourselves. Like we supply restaurants, we supply hotels, and we supply people in groups, like a community in groups who comes together. Okay, we want maybe like 20 kg of pepper, we all want 20 kg of tomatoes, and we want, okay, can you add a cucumber, or just like that. So the open market is for everyone, and you cannot bypass the middleman, which we have to. It is not a problem. It is a relationship. You cannot bypass the middleman. No matter what you are producing, there's always a middleman ready to offtake. Even cassava, soya, everything. There must be a middleman. And I think it's the policy that the government has created for itself. Because before time, there has been an agric board that regulates the market. I don't know what happened. I'm not interested. My own is just to farm. So so people came together and created a policy for themselves that opened away for the middleman in the country.
Okay.
So you cannot bypass the middleman.
Okay.
So you need to create a relationship with them, because your produce, if you are taking it to the market, the people will cheat you. They will make sure it is standardized, and they will sell, give you your own cut, and then in Lagos they take 10%. They are not God, but they will take 10%.
Okay.
But here in some places, in all over, they take 10%.
Okay.
Let me just put it that way.
Okay.
They will remove their 10%.
Yeah.
A middleman, once you take it to the market, will remove his 10% and then give you what belongs to you as a farmer.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think the middleman conversation, it has to happen, but it's going to be a conversation for a later date, right? You know, a lot of people believe that the middlemen don't have function within the value chain, you know, that they are just adding unnecessarily to the cost of food in the market, and also that, you know, they shortchange the farmers.
Let me give you an example. I take fresh vegetable to the market. The women who are coming to come and buy from me, because it's the dry season, they rush, thereby creating opportunity for they steal most of the produce. If you take 10 dozen, you will hardly see 6 dozen, because they would have stolen some. But the middleman will stand. Once you come, you buy what you need to buy, and then it gives you your money, takes its own 10%.
Exactly.
You cannot remove the middleman.
Exactly.
That is just.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for that. So, we'll just go straight to the next question, which I want Mr. Yusuff to participate in.
Okay.
Right. I'm just looking at the beautiful concept here, but also looking at some of the challenges that you are facing, you know, with production, and you are facing with, you know, preservation and transportation. Right. You have this beautiful scheme. I was just thinking that in a case whereby you have this sort of glut in your production, is there anything available for preservation, storage of your fresh vegetables? Do you also think that, like we have in Lagos, we have this fresh food hub, you know, whereby fresh foods are brought, you know, for storage and for marketing? Do you think that there is need for such in Ibadan and around, you know, farms, you know, where there is this sort of established linkage between producers and buyers and the consumers? And I'd like to ask you, aside this, what are some of the challenges that you face? Might be fund related, you know, maybe let's say now that investors are looking forward to investing in your farm, right? What generally is your challenge with assessing the needed capital to be able to operate profitably and sustainably?
It's just a pity that the farmer bears all the brunt. That's just it. Down from the value chain is the farmer that is the lowest. But like they will say, Abiola, the farmer is a king. You cannot beat the farmer. If I stop producing, I will go back to subsistence farming, which all our fathers have been doing. We, because of our education, had to come in like, okay, let's do calculation. Our fathers, they never cared about how many heaps of yam. They only plant for their community. And that is the reason why before it's more sustainable, but now the society is growing. People are moving, influx of people. And our greatest problem now is the real estate as a farmer. So now we need to create, the government needs to come. I wouldn't want to talk about the government, because I know it's not the way we should go. They've left farmers. A farmer will always cry, you will cry, you will lose money, you cry. So as an investor, you need to understand what the farmer, you need to sit down. You want to give me money, you need to understand the nature of what I'm doing. This is not real estate, and it is not high tech. This is farming, and it's real life, both spiritual, economical, everything, political. Farming is life. Why we are still suffering the brunt now? We are short of labor because most of our young men don't want to go to the farm. They say it's not profitable. I would rather drive Okada. But I wouldn't stoop myself so low to be collecting Okada from someone. I know how I can do my own one plus one on the field and see that the farm is sustainable for me. And it is more sustainable for the people within my society. So that's just me. So he might have his own opinion. But if an investor is trying to come in, Please, they should try and understand the nature and the challenges of every farmer before you give a penny. Don't come and tell me you give me 100 million and I should give you 120 million at the end of the year. If it's not workable, please let them hold their money. Please.
Okay. So what I've understood from you now is that farmers are not begging for funds.
We are not begging for funds. If the owner of the policy, there has been bad policies over the years that it keeps affecting farmers. We are pumping water for heaven's sake. Look, you can see with the fact that government created a dam for us. We are using, how much is fuel now? I use 200,000 to pump fuel every week. Are you not telling me that it's going to be part of my cost? And the investor wants his money. He doesn't want to know how you do it on the field. That is just the basic truth. Investor does not want to know how you had your 1+1. He wants to know how the money will add up. Simple.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Mr. Yusuff, I believe that you heard all what you said. So I want you to make addition to or contribution or where he didn't, touch on investment in farming. What are the challenges? What are some of the things that you've seen? Another thing that I want to ask again or just talk on is that do you think investors are being unnecessarily reactionary or they are actually right? Many of them saying, they've given farmers funds, they understood their businesses and all that, and still, they didn't get anything from the farming investment, and they believe there's a whole lot of misappropriation that went on. What would you say?
Thank you very much for that. And let me say, I really compliment my boss, Mr. Bayo, for the World Lead Foundation. You can best hear from the farmer and not just from research posted online, or let me just say aggregated feedbacks. Another issue we've been having over time is that the real pain of the farmers are not really expressed to the public hearing. So this has created a large gap between the farmers' reality and the picture people are seeing. Till date, people continue to say Abiola simply because they feel food is expensive. So the profits of that is going directly to the farmer. But what many don't understand is that less than 20% of even what people make out there from the value chain of agriculture gets to many of the farmers. That's just by the way. Now, to build on what my boss has, read out earlier. Now, the place of infrastructure cannot be ruled out for optimum agricultural productivity. In the case of preservation, an hub like this that is into horticulture needs some complementary infrastructure. Even it starts from the road. And the water provision is just one of the resources available that the farmers have to go an extra step to optimize. Now he made mention of one key point. They have to pump water here every day. He spent an average of 200,000 naira to pump water. Now you can imagine a situation in which there is a large solar system to help power the irrigation setup here. That would definitely and significantly. Do you want to tell me if he has 200,000 naira cash with him to divert to another place, it won't add up to his productivity?
Exactly, it's what I believe so.
You get. So that is why infrastructural provision remains essential towards improving agricultural productivity. There is a data that has it that over 30% of what is produced is wasted in agriculture. Definitely. That is even at post-harvest, not even at before during the production period. Yep. So let's say there is a situation, this is an already established hub. This is a cluster for vegetable farmers. An infrastructure like a cold room facility is in place. It can help the farmers in a lot of ways. Number one, they can even time their production. Definitely. Number two is that they can even plan their marketing in stages. You can either produce at once and market in batches, or it can serve as a contingency plan. Let's say maybe there's a riot in town and you plan to go to the market, but you can't. So you can confidently, store your facility, and can even be sponsored by a third party under a PPP project. You understand? So the place of infrastructure, not just the cold room alone, even security is an issue virtually in every, farming environment. In this environment, Ajeja farming community, I'm aware of, efforts put in place by farmers to ensure, they protect their investments. But it's still not enough because they can't, finance what is needed in terms of security alone. They have theft internally and externally. You know, in this area, less than 100 meters from here, we do have cases of kidnappings and robbery almost on a weekly basis. I think some few months ago, and it's been happening for like over 2-3 years. You understand? So it took the government support, you know, to bring down Amotekun here, to create a post there, and this happened on a daily basis. So you as a farmer, you can imagine the threat to life, you know, to your business, and that simply means that now goes back to the point of investments, bringing investment. The risks farmers face are overwhelming, and you have to deliver. Now the problem is that it's not just even the starting that matters, but as much as you perfect your paperwork, your blueprint, because you're practicing in an environment that gives you the minimal enabling environment, you are faced with a lot of calculated and not calculated risks. So at the end of the day, if someone gives you 10 million naira now with an investment, an ROI of let's say 25-30%, it's not really a problem on paper. But when you now get to the field, that's when you realize that you started buying petrol 180 naira per liter, but 6 months into your production, you're already buying petrol at 1,000 naira per liter. So how do you want to justify that, even with the miscellaneous aspect in your blueprint? So many times when you see farmers not delivering based on agreed ROI, it's a function of internal and external factors, but most times they are more of external factors. When you're practicing in a place where the enabling environment is not there, you can't control labor. You can employ me on your farm to work for you today. I can decide that, oh, I've seen another better offer, or my uncle in Nasarawa called me, I should be coming. I left the farm for you and you're planting cucumber halfway. You can't get labor overnight. And if you get labor overnight, it is seriously expensive. We are practicing in an environment in which we are minimal on mechanization and we're still more dependent on human labor. So that makes us super vulnerable because humans are not predictable. So a whole lot goes into it, and I can't blame investors because this is my life sweat and I entrusted it in you based on an agreement, and you're not delivering. The human part in me will expect something. But this now informs a third party, the major stakeholder, which is the government. And that is why the role of the government is not to fund agriculture directly, but it's to fund agriculture directly by creating the necessary enabling environment. If I know there's nothing wrong in collecting an investor's money to farm, the biggest corporations in the world, they grow on other people's funds. Banks of today, they grow on other people's funds. Technology of today, the telecommunication giants, they grow on other people's funds. But the problem is that if the enabling environment is not there, there is no amount of funds that will be enough to attain optimum productivity. One of it is the security. You started a farm now, halfway through, you as a farm owner or your farm manager was kidnapped. That instability alone, you know, can disrupt a lot of things. Now, halfway through you being kidnapped, how do you really balance that? It will disrupt a whole lot of things. So if you are not able to now deliver, it will now seem as if, oh, you know, what went wrong. At the end of the day, my money still have to be delivered to me as an investor. So in summary, looking at it, is not enough to blame farmers for not delivering, and it's not enough to blame investors for being aggressive. An agreement is an agreement. But in summary, you need the government to create the enabling environment. If the enabling environment is there in terms of infrastructure, in terms of security, in terms of favorable policies, it will be easier for the farmers to deliver, and it will encourage more investors to come in. Because if you want to grow any economy globally, you need private investment to thrive.
Thank you so much for breaking all this down. The complexity of challenge with investment for farmers. Many times it's not just about the farmers themselves why investment fail, right? It's because of understood internal and external factors that we have to take into consideration, which could be better resolved by putting in place the necessary support and infrastructural support also in place. And I also love that you came in with this preservation facility idea that is not necessarily for preserving food. There are also other functions that it serves, right? It helps you to plan properly when you know that, okay, you have this sort of storage system in place. You can better think about what you want to produce, how to produce, right? I like that. Also going to give you guys just 1 minute for you to say what you would like to see change in agriculture, what you would like to see change regarding your situation in agriculture, the support that you can get, and on a national scale as well.
I think agriculture is should be a career path for younger generations, and I believe the government, or I believe the situation at hand can be attended to by the people people who in policy, people who have the right to do something that is right for the farmer, and also people who have the the will to invest in agriculture. Thank you.
For me, in conclusion, there are subsets, there are a lot of issues pervading the agricultural sector. However, I believe what can bring about a comprehensive solution is to just create the enabling environment. By creating the enabling environment, every other thing will be put on auto. You can't build something on nothing, but it's something you need to build something on here. Is the enabling environment. If we once had a giant infrastructure like cocoa house built with cocoa in the 60s and 70s, when there was no social media, when there was no advanced technology, it shows us that with improved knowledge, with improved resources, we can explore much more that can give us results from our agricultural sector. And the bottom line is just the government should look towards creating the enabling environment. And by this, what do we mean in simple English? Create the resources that can help farmers and the right conditions that can help farmers and agro stakeholders at large. Anyone who has interest in agricultural sector, any aspect of agricultural sector to thrive, from infrastructure, good roads that link from urban areas to rural areas. A farmer can easily transport his goods directly from the farm to the nearest market in the urban area easily, without any threat of thugs, without any threat of police, without any threat of maybe potholes or bad roads. Give us security. We need our lives and properties secured. If I'm assured that my life is secured and I won't have maybe goats go over my 100 acres or maybe 10 acres of maize or cassava farm, I will have more confidence to bring in more money to expand and scale up to 20 acres, 30 acres subsequently. If I have assurance that the government's policies are favorable and consistent, I will have the confidence to invest over time. If I have the confidence that there is a support system for me as a farmer, that addresses my problem, I will have the confidence to increase my productivity and my capacity. So with this, I will just summarize my points once more, is that where we need the government the most is to create the enabling environment. We don't need units, bundles of cassava stem, or 2 bags of fertilizers, or 1 liter of herbicides. Those things cannot, or maybe like 2 or 3 goats shared to a farmer. Those things cannot take us far, But what we really need is conditions that will enable farmers to operate at the optimum and to scale up. Thank you very much.
You've listened to the farmers. These are the real farmers, right? Many times when we talk about the challenges of the farmers, people say no, they are not facing any challenges. These are farms here. These are the people that farm. They know what they undergo. Many times it's farmers that bear the brunt, across all the old brunt, or most of the brunt, across the supply chain, value chain as well, right? So if they are facing this sort of challenges but they are not being supported, or when they face challenges and they incur losses and they are not being compensated appropriately, it sort of demoralizes them. And when it demoralizes them and they are not engaged in agriculture again, there's this supply demand gap. And when we have a huge supply demand gap and we have a lot of people competing for the few foods available, then we have a case in whereby the prices of food go up. That's basic economics. So it's very important for us to support farmers. And when we talk about supporting farmers, it's not just by providing lands, but it's very essential for you to provide lands and irrigation. The support should come in holistic form, right? Provide land for them, provide the input, also make it affordable for them, access to storage facilities, access to the market, right? Access to fund. Not just access to fund at good interest rates. You can't expect me as a farmer to come and be taking loan at 2 digits when I still have some other challenges to face. That's literally suicide, right? So it's even one of the reasons why we are not seeing the appropriate investment in agriculture, because by default, farmers are destined to fail already. So how are they going to put or generate the necessary return on investment? So these are the issues, and I hope that this reaches, the policy makers, the decision makers, to be able to effect the needed solutions that is going to unleash the productivity of our farmers, so that they are able to produce and meet our food security, and also that we are able to generate substantial revenue from our agriculture that has to, overall income as a nation. Thank you so much.